controversy is brewing in Manassas as the city continues to develop land in and around two nesting bald eagles. I-Team investigator Scott Taylor says a federal lawsuit has now been filed claiming Uncle Sam isn't doing enough to protect our symbol of freedom.
Two eagles flying into controversy in Manassas, Virginia. In this case, the nest came before the construction of two office buildings.
I'm furious that the organization charged with protecting these eagles doesn't care.
Amber Taylor, an eagle advocate and former animal welfare investigator, filed a lawsuit claiming U.S. Fish and Wildlife should have issued a restrictive permit to the developer. She believes construction has disturbed the nest.
There's so much more that they could and should have done.
The Pruitt Corporation followed the rules and applied for a federal permit, but U.S. Fish and Wildlife said the company didn't need one.
We'd like to say permit issued with permanent restrictions saying these are the things you must do to make sure the eagles are not disturbed.
We're just north of the eagle nest right now, walking along a trail in the beautiful city-owned Cannon Branch Ford Park. Take a look how far off the trail the eagle's nest is. It's right there, and then the city makes it really clear, don't go near it. We're on the south side of the eagle's nest. It's a totally different story. There's the building, and the nest, it's right up there. 1, 2, 3. This month, the city of Manassas broke ground on a second multi-million-dollar development half a mile away from the nest, but only feet away from the eagle's favorite fishing hole. City officials tell 7 on Your Side the feds think the birds won't be affected.
It's a major economic benefit to the city. And so, again, talking to U.S. Fish and Wildlife, they don't see the necessary elements.
And those are the same people who didn't think it was necessary to give a permit and give restrictions on the property owner that's right underneath their nest. Same people.
U.S. Fish and Wildlife made that decision.
The feds won't do interviews during litigation. The Pruitt Corporation says no comment.
I want these eagles to feel safe. I want them to continue to nest successfully, breed successfully, and I want them to do it without any human disturbance.
And joining us now here on NewsTalk, reporter Scott Taylor and Manassas Eagle advocates Amber Taylor, no relation, and Stephanie Mahoney. Great to have all of you with us. Thanks very much for being here. Scott, this is the ultimate clash of valid and competing interests. You've got nature, you've got the environmental issues, and you've got the private sector, the job, all the rest of that.
Right.
So this
and the money. Yeah, and the money.
This is a lot for local and federal authorities to sort through.
Yeah, you really have humans versus animals, and right now, if you talk to these ladies, the animal's not winning this situation right now. You have both been really highly involved in this. What is the biggest concern, do you think, Amber?
I think the biggest concern is not kind of respecting the boundaries that are in place legally. Having the need for citizens such as ourselves to come behind federal organizations that are already in place with laws that should be protecting these eagles. I found that to be the most frustrating so far, is just we're learning the law backhandedly, if you will, just doing what we can to try to protect these birds and give them a little peace.
What do we know about the birds who are there? How many, how old are these families?
There are two adult bald eagles there right now, known as Ina and Tatanka. Last year there were 2 eaglets, the year before 2 eaglets, and the year before that 2 eaglets. We believe there was 1 prior to that. So right now there are 2 eaglets who should be nesting and hopefully laying eggs.
The concern in terms of their development and construction machinery or people being within a certain distance is what? What do we think is the
Well, there's
issue?
laws in place that you have usually a buffer zone during construction, at least 330 feet, and you saw in our story that nest is right above a parking lot. It actually hangs over the parking lot, doesn't it, ladies?
It sure does, and it gives people closer access to these eagles than they've ever had before. Before the property was developed and cleared, people would actually respect the boundaries by standing on a sidewalk, public sidewalk, and viewing them from afar. With the construction now of the buildings and then the pavement, literally, like he was saying, directly underneath the nest, people can stand within feet now of this nest, and there's no mitigation in place at this time. That's the reason for the lawsuit, that protects or stops people from literally disturbing them right out of the nest. Closer access than ever before.
How long are eagles typically, I mean, in a nest? Is it something where, babies are born and then everyone flies away? Is this more of an indefinite home kind of thing.
So you're wondering, do they leave after they have the
Yeah.
babies or not?
No, absolutely not. And these eagles don't migrate. These eagles are here year-round. This is their home year-round. They will reuse the nest year after year. They specifically will find a tree in the perfect place, close to fishing ground, close, they feel safe. They will raise eaglets year after year after year. It takes about 3 to 4 months just to build one, and that's again after they found the perfect location that allows them to breed successfully from the nest.
Now,
So,
the U.S. Fish and Wildlife, the developer followed the rules. They went to U.S. Fish and Wildlife, went to the feds, and said, we need a permit. U.S. Fish and Wildlife came back and said, you don't need one. You need to construct between August 1st and December 1st. And that's all you had to do. You thought that there need to be more restrictions. That's why you filed a lawsuit.
absolutely, because in this area, at least for these specific eagles, there's not really a specific timeline on their nesting season. They nest year-round. They're constantly fortifying it and bringing twigs to it. I mean, again, they live in it every single day. And with the construction and the development of this ground, they've been flown out of their nest. They're disturbed off their own property. And it's not like they have a secondary place to go. I mean,
Right.
there's so much time that goes into picking this perfect nest and the two of them coordinating to build it and then breed from it. It's not something they can just abandon and then expect to have
Yeah,
a
and these
successful
birds don't fly at night, which I learned
Yes.
from you two. They don't fly at night. There's concern back there because in the parking lot there's lights. We just got from the city an email because we've been talking to the city about this. The city requested that the developer replace the lights with downward-facing lights, and that should happen today. So that's a little bit of a win for the Eagles, but it'll just depend on how much light is to back it, right?
The significance of the light goes into the actual fertility of the female. Her body is signaled to become fertile with the shortening of the day. So these lights not only affect them now, but for the future as well, their ability to breed.
You've done some, correct me if I'm wrong, some photography or videography of the eagles?
Everybody's done pictures.
Everybody
Yeah, yeah. This started out really small,
It
right?
did.
You start, and then how did it grow, and how big is it now?
The Facebook page was started prior to all of this, just for locals to share photographs. But everyone thought it was a well-known secret and, didn't want to share all the eagle goodness. And it seems as though we've kind of have a network that's developed out of a perceived necessity that people must step in and help protect these eagles.
And we almost take shifts at this point.
Yeah.
Which sounds incredible, because we all do have full-time lives and other things that we do. But we're that protective of making sure that they're safe because it feels like at least we're the only ones that are doing it.
But you've stayed away from it. I noticed you guys stay across the street, but with the development and the big parking lot back there, that's actually brought people closer.
Other people.
It
And
has.
we haven't taken advantage of that either.
No,
We
we've
respect
never
the
done that in
boundaries.
the building. What people need to keep in mind is every time you scare that eagle out, if there's an egg up there, that egg can freeze. I mean, very easily.
Because it doesn't have
It
the,
doesn't have the warmth of the eagle sitting on it. And over the years of watching these eagles, we can fairly safely pick up on whether or not there's an egg in the nest by their behavior, but with them being continuously scared out.
beyond the obvious connection of symbolism that we all, I think, have when we're talking about eagles, what has made these eagles special? What has...
They're in my backyard. They're in my backyard. About 4 years ago was the first time I ever saw a bald eagle outside of the zoo. And it's a couple miles from my house. How can you not be excited about that?
Is there more conversation? I mean, I guess the lawsuit is significant. We'll see.
Yeah, hopefully there'll be a settlement
Where
somewhere.
that
There
goes.
possibly could be some restrictions.
You've done a lot of reporting, a lot of phone calls. What more can you tell us
Yeah,
about sort of this process?
The U.S. Fish and Wildlife can come back, rescind the letter that they sent to the developer saying you don't need a permit, put a permit in, put some possible restrictions. I think that's part of why the lawsuit's been filed and there's a discussion that continues there. The city basically says, listen, we love the eagles. We're doing our job over on the city park side. The developer, it's private property, we can only do so much.
Final thoughts?
We appreciate the opportunity to share their story. Our nest is not one that's fortunate enough to have an eagle camera on it, so it's not a nationally known nest at this point. There's just, a few of us that started that are now a few hundred and a few thousand of us that share an interest in them specifically. There are a lot of people that really have a valid concern to make sure that their health and well-being is maintained.
They are beautiful creatures, aren't they?
Thank you so much.
Scott Taylor, Amber Taylor, no relation. Stephanie Mahoney, thank you all. Really interesting development. Thanks for bringing it to our attention.
Thank you.
We'll step aside. Keep it here, though. We're back with a NewsTalk program now.